Hey everybody, welcome back. Today, I'm going to give you a baker's dozen of the best tips for making the best biscuits possible. And I mean the best. Look at the layers, look at the flake in that. Look at it, isn't it beautiful? Look at that, look at that. I don't know how to make them like this. Look at how soft inside, tender, and delicious. Never mind. I'm keeping these for myself. Go away. Never mind. You don't want to watch this video. Shoo. This is not this. No substitutions. Trust me, everybody's seen it when you're baking. You see buttermilk. You don't have it, you go look. Just put a little bit of lemon juice in milk. If you do that in buttermilk biscuits, you're going to have too much acid for the baking powder and it's going to cause problems. No substitutions. It's just gross. Speaking of gross, let's talk about our second tip. It's pretty simple and actually makes a lot of sense. Use good ingredients. Stay away from the cheap stuff. Get the good stuff. They have better fat contents. They have a lot less preservatives. They got a lot better flavors overall. Spend the money, use the good stuff. Speaking of good stuff, that leads us to our third tip. Many of you have these been sitting in your cabinet for 20 years. Grandma left it for you. Check these, make sure they still work. Baking powder and baking soda do go bad and they do lose efficiency. This is what's lifting the dough. It's making it light and fluffy. Let's make sure it works. I'll show you how. Science. Just take a little bit of your baking powder. This works with baking soda as well. So all you need is a little quarter teaspoon. And our good friend from our chemistry classes, vinegar. Just a little splash. See the bubbles? When it gets in there, it gets in the oven, that is going to work. You're good to go for number 4. Use frozen butter. That cold butter, and everything in this recipe should be cold, but that cold butter will keep your biscuits nice and flaky. Oven mitt will protect you from heat, but it also protects your butter from heat. And you just grate it down and it'll mix in much faster. If you notice your butter starting to get a little soft, you can stop and put it all in the freezer. There we go. And that is all going to go right back in the freezer until we're done with the next tip. This recipe calls for 2.5 cups of flour. That is 325 grams. Let's use grams because it's a smaller measurement and that makes it kind of more precise by default. So do that and you'll be much happier. And that is 325. We're going to get the rest of the recipe in there too. Need a tablespoon of sugar. A teaspoon of salt. 1 tablespoon of baking powder. This is our dry ingredient. And we're just going to whisk it together really quickly. Alright, and this actually leads us to our next tip. Anything you're going to put in this recipe, anytime you stop, anytime you want to take a minute, take a breather, phone rings, whatever else happens, anything at all. The best tip possible is keep it all in the refrigerator. Keep everything cold. A lot of places they'll tell you keep your butter cold. No, keep your butter frozen. They don't say anything about anything else. Keep it all cold. All of it, all the time. This one kind of felt like it should go at the end, but it doesn't, because we can't. It's just not going to work like that. Too bad for me. Too good for you. Our next tip is the boring biscuit. You go somewhere, you pick up a biscuit. It's a biscuit. Even a good biscuit. It's just a biscuit. So, best bet, mix-ins. Put whatever you want in these biscuits. Go nuts. I'm gonna take our flour mixture back out of the refrigerator. Put it in the bowl. For our mix-ins, we're gonna put in our new Cajun seasoning. A healthy tablespoon. And then a small cup of shredded cheese. It's a cup, I swear. You don't see anything. Shh, shh, mind your business. We're just gonna toss those in to coat real quick. And then we'll add the wet stuff and we'll be on our way to our next tip. Halfway. You guys made it. I'm so proud of you. Keep on going now. You got some good stuff. Come on. Okay, we're gonna put in our butter right now for our next pointer. Still frozen, just took it out of the freezer. Frozen to the plate a little bit, and that's fine. And we're gonna mix this in here. If you have a pastry cutter, you can use that. You can do this step in your food processor too if you want. It works. If at any point you feel this warming up, you feel that butter starting to get soft, you stop. Put the whole thing back in the refrigerator and give it a rest. Put your hands in the refrigerator or the freezer, get those nice and cold. And what we're looking for is that right there. It's that nice sandy texture. Yeah. And then you add your liquid, and this is where the next pointer comes in. And that is, do not, under any circumstances, do not overwork this. Do not turn it in to one homogeneous dough ball. You don't want that. You barely want this to come together and stick together. Chunks of butter hanging out on their own, not a problem. The dry flour, not a problem. Just get this to where it just barely comes together. The more you fool with this, the more that flour is going to turn the gluten on. And the more gluten you get turned on, the tougher your biscuit is going to be. And that is not a best biscuit. Stick together for me. Yeah. Look at that. That is perfect. Yeah, little bits of butter and stuff hanging out in there. There's some dry flour in there. And you can kind of work the bottom of this to make sure you get everything out of the bottom. But be gentle. This is our Cajun cheddar dough ball. And it is going, can you guess where? Can you guess? You guys keeping up? Staying with me on this one? Guess where it's going? I'll give you 3 guesses. You got it. Back in the fridge. Preheat 425. We are going to flour our board here very lightly. I don't want to go too crazy. More flour, more gluten, more tough biscuits. That's not good. Our next tip is do not use cutters on your biscuits. I know, the horror, but Grandma used a mason jar. Grandma used her coffee cup. Grandma used one of these. Don't do it. Saved yourself the trouble. You're gonna want to take this dough and pat it out. Always looks better if it's rough anyway. To about 1 inch thick. When you get it there, you're gonna do our next little trick. You can see all the butter and everything in there. You're gonna fold this. A little more flour down, it's a little sticky. That's okay. You're gonna fold this over, press it down to about 1 inch. And you're gonna do this 5 times. 5. You want to do this 5 times, not 6, not exactly. 5 times and just kind of press it back out to 1 inch or so, and then fold it over. That's 3. You want to press it out, and that's 4. You'll also notice that doing this is not only going to add layers, because you get 2 the first time, you get 4 the second time, you get 8 the next time, you get 16 the next time, and then in the last one, you get 32. So you're adding layers, but you'll also notice, see the shape? It's starting to get nice and kind of rectangular, and that'll make it a lot easier to work with. I know, it's terrible. You can use a regular knife, you can use a pastry knife, and just cut right down through to make your biscuits. The benefit of doing square biscuits is that there's no waste, right? That's always a good thing. The other benefit is part of our next tip. If you are going to re-roll your biscuits, your biscuit dough, when you are done, make sure you only do it once. After that, you're going to start developing too much gluten, and you're going to end up with tough, flat, nasty little biscuits that nobody wants. Just throw that away. It's only a couple of pennies. You're fine. You happen to have a square cutter, that's a good thing too. If you're one of those people and you just can't handle that something's not perfectly square, or not everything has to be the exact same size, you can use the square cutter. And the square cutter is going to leave us a little bit left to re-roll, which is fine, because I want you guys to see what they look like after they've been re-rolled a few times. Same goes for these. If you insist on using a round cutter, make sure you press straight down. Do not twist, don't turn, don't force it. You also should not be using a glass, because if you're using a glass and the back of it is closed off, that air compresses in there, and when you push down, it pushes the dough off to one side or the other, and your biscuits aren't going to rise evenly. And you also notice I'm putting these biscuits pretty close together. They're about a ½ an inch apart. That's because I want them to rise up, not out. And in the pan, they are going to get down there and they're going to crash into each other, and it'll push them up. And that is exactly what we're after. If you don't, the sides are going to brown, you're not going to see those flakes, those flaky layers, and you're not really going to be happy with the result, because those dry sides will dry out your biscuits, and nobody likes a dry biscuit. Reshape these if it's driving you crazy. After you cut them, just don't fiddle with them too much. Personally, these are cheese-filled Cajun seasoned biscuits. I don't care what shape they are. They are not going to last. Goes in 425, roughly 10 or 12 minutes. So, you may have noticed that I did not put anything on top of these biscuits. A lot of times, a lot of recipes, you'll see egg washes, you'll see butter, you see whatever, blah, 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 blah. So you don't do that until after they come out. Do it right when they come out. They'll be nice and hot, and as they cool, they'll suck up any of that butter or whatever it is you want to put on top down into the biscuit. We're going to put some Cajun compound butter. It's one of my other videos. Check it out. Put a couple of tablespoons of whatever kind of butter you're going to put in there. A little bowl. And throw it in the microwave until it's melted. Usually only takes about 10 or 15 seconds. While we're waiting, if you've enjoyed the video, had some fun, learned a few things maybe, picked up a thing here or there, or you just want to make sure not to miss the next one, hit that subscribe notification button down there. Give us a like. Give us a comment. Tell us what you want to see. Tell us I'm stupid. Tell me whatever you want. Tell me what makes you happy in the kitchen. All right. Edges are nice and brown. Look at the rise on that. And more importantly, these are the ones that had a second roll, and we left them a little bit thicker. These are the first rolled, or single rollout that these got. These and these are the same height. So you can see with the second roll, even though they were thicker, they still came out the same height. Over time, they'll start to lose their leavening power, and that will stop. But now we're on to the good tips. Butter. What would be better, right? I'm gonna brush the tops of these. This is a compound butter made with garlic and onion and a little bit of hot sauce and some other good stuff in there. Our new Cajun seasoning is in here. We're gonna brush some of these down with this, just so you can see. You can brush this down with anything you want. But you'll see this first one over here is already starting to soak all that up. And it's really getting down in there. It'll be super good with the Cajun seasonings and the cheese in there. And then the Cajun butter up on top. So this will be my snack for today. This will be breakfast for tomorrow. That's all there is to it. Let's take a little peek here and see what we got. Oh, look at that, just coming off in layers. Oh my goodness. Look how flaky those are, and light, and fluffy. Look at that, that is pure deliciousness. And they ain't gonna make it, they ain't gonna last long. Usually at some point in my videos I'll do something stupid or something way out there, very mad scientist, and this time we've been all science, not so much mad. So, couldn't let that stand. You know, still me, no matter what we do. It's always gonna be me. Yes, this is a Cajun and cheese biscuit with fried ham and melted cheese covered in a Cajun butter. So, you know, don't judge. That kid gotta eat, right? Oh my goodness. Yeah. Which leads us to the very last and final tip that probably not ever going to use, but I'll put it out there just because. Final tip, as crazy as it sounds, is that the biscuits actually freeze very well. Put them in a Ziploc bag, make sure you mark the date. They'll keep a month or so. Whew. Almost kept a straight face. Yeah, you're going to keep these biscuits and they're going to be in your freezer for a whole month and no one's going to bother them. No, not ever. That's not going to happen at all. We're done with that one. Alright y'all, thank you very much for watching. If you made it this far, appreciate it. Make sure you leave us a like, make sure you leave us a comment. Let us know what you want to see next. You are going to be a rock star if you make these biscuits and use the whole baker's dozen of tips. You are going to have a fan club and a half, whether that's around the house or company parties or whatever. These things are amazing. I'll make sure I put the recipe down in the description for you. Alright, we'll see you next time. You want a biscuit? You like Cajun? You like cheese? Is it good? Is it yummy?